Okay, so here's the deal. We just did like a 20-minute conversation about Tommy John surgery, about Kerry Wood, about Mike Tyson, about all this shit, but the internet screwed up and basically wouldn't record the call. So we're going to start over. Uh, as you guys know, if you watch my channel, Tommy John surgery is an elbow procedure, um, which Luis Severino had last year. Jordan Montgomery had it the year before. My man Tom here actually had it several years ago. So I was going to talk to him about the process of coming back. So could you maybe just tell me how you hurt yourself? Tell me about like basically the circumstances and then the rehab process. And then we can kind of just talk about, what it was like getting back on the mound.
Sure. So, really, when it comes to your UCL, you can have a partial tear or you can have a complete tear, which a lot of guys, hear that pop. And mine was partial. I didn't even know it was torn. I just thought it was like a little bit of tendonitis. But my athletic trainer said, you should probably get that looked at because, your elbow shouldn't be swollen that much. So I got some MRIs on it, and they just confirmed that, yeah, I tore my UCL and I needed Tommy John. Now, the surgery, not that bad. It's about 90 minutes. But it takes a full year to really come back from that because, basically, when I was done with the surgery, my arm was as stiff as a board, and I spent, a lot of the time in my kind of like first phase of 2 in my rehab, just trying to like stretch my arm back out so that I could throw again. But you hear all the time of like guys coming back off of Tommy John and throwing harder than they used to. And that was true for me too. But the real reason of that is that all of the exercises that they have you do for your shoulder, because, an elbow is a joint, it's not a muscle. So all of the exercises that I was doing in physical therapy was basically just strengthening my shoulder. So by the time that I was ready to pick up a baseball again, my shoulder was nice and healthy and very strong. Now, as far as like recovery time, it still takes a full year. I had like 6 months of physical therapy and then another 6 months of just like, getting myself back into the rhythm of throwing a baseball and getting comfortable with, letting that ball fly out of my hand again.
So when we talked last time, you mentioned a good point, which was that you weren't afraid to let it go when you got on the mound, because by that point you had already done long toss. And that was really the first sort of goalpost to get by.
Yeah. When you're long tossing, you're kind of afraid, like, can I really go out this far? And, it's one of those times where you just have to like, I have to trust it. I have to test it. Otherwise I don't know. Are you afraid it's going to hurt again? Absolutely. But, if you don't try, you don't know. But, once you get past that and you're able to finish your long toss, when you get back on the mound, you're ready to go.
How many years has it been since you had your Tommy John?
I think 11 now.
Have you had any other?
I think it's been 11.
Have you had any other elbow like problems with it since then?
So the only problem that I've really had with my elbow was actually this past like fall baseball season. And the real reason for that was because, I really couldn't play any summer baseball this year and I couldn't get in the weight room either. So my body wasn't very healthy. My shoulder wasn't very strong. I was still doing my running and stuff, but it just didn't feel like it was enough. And so my elbow hurt a little bit, but as long as I'm in the gym, taking care of my body and, running, which is what you absolutely have to do after a start. I don't believe in icing anymore. I just run. It gets all that lactic acid out of there, which makes my arm feel sore. So, other than that, no. But, with the guys that, do this every day, I think it all comes down to, what are you doing in between starts will determine, number one, how effective you are. And number two, how well you're, how good or how bad you're going to feel.
So I know I was never a big fan of icing either when I was coming up and pitching, but now that I'm an old man, 38 this upcoming year. I have to ice myself just from like using the computer too much. Like I have to ice my wrists all the time just from it. So if I go out there and play baseball, I absolutely need to ice. So just because it hurts if you don't. Your favorite pitcher to watch growing up, who was it?
I was a big John Smoltz fan. I just, I liked, I was a Braves fan growing up, and kind of part of that, kind of part of me being like a Smoltz fan was that everybody was a big Greg Maddux fan, and I just didn't want to be a conformist really.
Yeah.
But I like Smoltz a lot because he was a tremendous starting pitcher. He had the Tommy John too, and then he went on to be a phenomenal closer. Also, he's one of the few guys that did both. He started and he closed.
Yeah, Kerry
But
Wood.
his split finger fastball was very good.
Kerry Wood was one of those guys too that we actually watched this 20 strikeout, me and you both, performance, and he was nasty when he came up. He had the Tommy John surgery in 1998. He was 20 years old, but he was never really the same after that. And you don't know if it was just because he wasn't as good as hyped up, but something feels like he never got back to that form. Like he could never throw 98 for the whole game again after that Tommy John surgery. But he was nasty as a closer. He pitched for the Yankees for a little while. A lot of guys have had the Tommy John and gone on to be really great pitchers. Steven Strasburg was a World Series MVP a couple years ago, and he had Tommy John surgery his rookie year. So
just about a third of the pitchers have had it, man. It's really common, and I think it's just a combination of bad mechanics and just bad body maintenance too.
I was thinking about what you said before about how some guys, you got the ligament that replaced your ligament from the wrist. And you said some people have that ligament and some people don't. That's weird.
Yeah. So it's called the simplest way to do it is to make a number 3 like this, with your pinky and your thumb, and then kind of like protrude your wrist out a little bit, and it should like pop out of your wrist right there.
Oh, yeah,
this is like evolutionary, like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's evolutionary, so it doesn't really bend a wrist or a finger. It's just kind of like there, and so some people have it, and most people have it, but some don't. And because I had it, they were able to just take it from there. But if I was one of those that didn't have it, my options would be, my hamstring, which has got plenty of down there, or a cadaver, take it from a dead guy.
Yeah, I mean that's one way to get to the major leagues, right? Right. If you were maybe a decent high school pitcher, but you get killed in a car accident, and then Kerry Wood needs your elbow. Kerry Wood needs your, you know what I mean? Like maybe that's why he wasn't so good, So it's weird. I read this. I've been reading this book called An End to Upside Down Thinking, and some people who get like organ donations from dead people claim to have the memories of the person who died. It's weird. Like it's a weird kind of that nobody can explain. They've even transplanted brains in salamanders, and then the salamanders retain the properties of the other brain. Like they can like if you put one salamander through a maze and then you give its brain to a different salamander, which they can do, the original salamander, which has a brain that didn't go through the maze, can still go through the maze. It's really, really weird. It's just it doesn't have any.
I mean, kind of like easiest way to really describe that is like think about taking your office CPU and then like bringing it home.
That doesn't make any sense. They're just saying it's just weird that I was just thinking that like what if you always wanted to be a pitcher but you were never very good, but then you get like hit by a bus and your elbow like goes in, or your ligament becomes like a superstar, like like that's.
Let's think about this too. If that like happens, not just your elbow is getting like sent off to someone else. I imagine various pieces of you are going everywhere else. So,
Yeah.
are you haunting like 10 people at a time or just one?
I mean, what if imagine being the doctor on the other end of the organ recipient. He got hit by a bus. He's all messed up. No heart, no liver. How's the UCL?
That's the
All right. So we haven't hung out in a while, but tomorrow night, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, we're going to hang out. We're going to eat some pizza. What do you think is going to happen in that fight? There's no headgear, 8 rounds. And it's supposed to be an exhibition, but ask Apollo Creed and Ivan Drago what an exhibition is like. I feel like both of these guys are going to come out trying to win. It's one thing to play an exhibition in tennis where you're just batting the ball back and forth. It's another thing to play an exhibition where there's a 200-pound guy punching you in the face. That's a different type of exhibition.
I think Tyson channels his inner demon and just
his dark passenger
just goes after Roy Jones. I don't think it's going to last long either.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Roy Jones is like 55 years old. He got the telegram or whatever. He's like, the fax. Oh yeah, I'm fighting Mike Tyson. This should be fun. Exhibition, make 25 million. Meanwhile, Mike Tyson's like pulling a train with his teeth, like training to get ready for this thing. He's like fighting giant bears and stuff, mountain lions. Yeah, I don't think it's going
to bite Roy Jones's ear too. Yeah, it's kind of like a post Thanksgiving.
Yeah. All right, Tom, appreciate it. I hope everybody enjoyed this little conversation. We'll try and do this, at least a couple times per month during the season where we'll, watch the best pitching matchup of the week. Oh, there goes Pepper, the dog. So we'll try and watch the best pitching matchup of the week or every couple weeks and get on and talk about what we saw, break it down from an analytical fashion and from an old school pitching fashion. So thanks for joining me, Tom. I appreciate it.
Yeah, homie.